Hey, everybody.
Hi, guys. Well, from beautiful Salt Lake City, Utah,
It is Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
It is I, Mark, sitting in for Frank.
And it is I, Dan, still just being Dan.
Danning it up.
Yeah, I'm Danning like a motherfucker. Coming up on today's show, we're going to be talking about, well, I know that you were all hoping we would do this. We're going to be talking about them militia boys up in Oregon.
If you thought Ted Bundy had violated that last name in
Yeah.
every way possible, you were wrong.
Well, yeah, these guys aren't, like, psycho murderers.
Not yet.
But they're certainly threatening to be. Anyway, we're going to talk about the Mormon angle,
Yeah.
on that. So that'll be cute. We'll end up getting some cuteness out of that.
It'll be fun.
That's in the second half of our show. But first, Marcus, why don't you tell us a little story?
Yeah. Well, it's good to be back.
Yeah, welcome back. Thanks for sitting in.
I think it was quite a hiatus, I feel like. I thought you guys were just over me.
Wow, considering that there have been other guest hosts who, have never been back.
Who haven't done, I don't know, how many did I do? I don't know how many shows.
Yeah, you did a bunch.
It was super fun. So I'm back for more fun. And a fun thing to start with is there is a presidential campaign underway.
Yeah.
And there are 453 Republicans running.
Okay.
And one of them that, I hope...
That's the exact number?
Well, I haven't checked in the last 30 seconds.
Okay. But, it does fluctuate.
It does fluctuate quite a bit. But one that I really had hoped was going to make a better showing just has been lagging. And I know that we all had high hopes for Mike Huckabee, but he's struggling. He's circling the zero percentage-wise.
Yeah.
So, but he's got a reason.
Oh,
He's this week. He said he said why that's happening to him, and I think he's probably right because he usually is. He was on Todd Starnes' show, and
never heard of it.
Yeah, you're super lucky. He was on Todd Starnes' show and said the reason is because he's not getting the support of all the evangelical leaders in this country who he feels would be his natural constituents.
Sure. You'd think.
You'd think that they would throw their support behind him, but he says they won't because he'd be too effective in delivering for them as a president. Right. So let me read his quote because it's really pretty wonderful.
Okay.
It's such sour grapes. It's the bitter, bitter tears of a fascist, and they're so delicious. He said, speaking to Todd, as I've often said, I don't go to them. I come from them. But because of that, I do understand them. And a lot of them, quite frankly, I think they're scared to death that if a guy like me got elected, I would actually do what I said I would do. And that is I would focus on the personhood of every individual. We would abolish abortion based on the 5th and 14th Amendment. We would ignore the Supreme Court's same-sex marriage decision. And you know what the result would be? A lot of these organizations wouldn't have the ability to do urgent fundraising because if we slay the dragon, what dragon do they continue to fight? And so for many of them, it could be a real detriment to their organization's ability to gin up their supporters and raise the contributions. And I know that sounds cynical, but Todd, it is what it is.
Wow. So he's saying, I will win the war on Christmas.
Yes.
And then they won't have anything to get mad about anymore.
I guess he's got to choose his own consolation prize at this point.
He's like... The fact that he is confident enough that he could just ignore Supreme Court decisions, like he'll be so effective in office that he can just like he's the one. He's Neo. Yeah. He can rewrite the Matrix as he sees fit.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
So apparently, the Christian right, who has been taken to the dance by Republicans for 40 years, but the Republicans have never gone home with them.
Right.
Basically, they've never delivered anything for these people. Yeah. What they don't want is a win.
What they're really looking for, what would really destroy them is if they actually got what they have claimed that they've wanted this whole time.
Good, nice try, Mike. Go back to Arkansas.
A man who wrote a book called God, Guns, Grits, and Gravy.
That's right.
I don't even know where to go from there.
Fuck off back to Arkansas, Mike.
I mean, you can't put gravy on guns.
Sure you can. That's our last story, though.
Oh, yeah, that's
Right.
right. That's right. We'll talk about the gun and gravy stuff later. I'm going to take us to Alabama.
Oh, not so far from Huckabee country.
No, I'm sure that he sees them as his constituents who have abandoned him as well.
Yeah.
Where you've heard tell of this of their Supreme Court justice, one Mr. Roy Moore,
Oh, yeah.
who he don't like you queers so much.
Or maybe he does.
Well, you think he's that's quite a big conspiracy theory you got
He's
going there.
he has an inability to shut the fuck up about it.
Yes. You mean he likes queers? He just can't like queers.
It's hard to masturbate when you're crying that hard. Guilt and shame, isn't it? But go on.
Anyway, who knows what he's wearing under those robes. However, he has been very, very opposed to same-sex marriage. So we all thought that now he would just shut the fuck up because it's been decided by a Supreme Court even higher than himself. Apparently, he doesn't believe that. Oh. Apparently, he doesn't acknowledge that there is any court higher than himself. He recently sent off a memo to all of the lower court, all of the what do they call them? Probate judges in Alabama, saying, nope, you must ignore the Supreme Court of these United States and follow my directive, which says no. You may not issue a marriage license to any gay folk in Alabama. He insists that the Supreme Court ruling applies only to the states represented in the case itself.
Yeah, that's been a pressure valve some of these dopes have been trying to use.
Yeah, but none of them are supposed to know the law quite as well. None of them know the law as much as he's supposed to. It's very clear that he doesn't give a fuck about how law in this country actually works,
right? Which
should be a bit alarming to anyone in Alabama itself.
And he's in Alabama. Those the judges on the Supreme Court are elected,
right? So I think that is the key to what's happening with Judge Moore is that he's playing to a constituency,
right?
He doesn't care about the actual legality of things.
Yeah,
he's drumming up business.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of that's very common in the Old South, that judges are elected in most of those states.
Uh-huh.
And that was in response to emancipation. So that was an attempt to never let, never allow the darkies to have a judge because they would always be outnumbered. So
Right.
So it's I think it's a stupid idea that judges are elected by popular vote. That's crazy.
Yes. I mean, I think that I don't mind what they do in Utah, which is that someone can be voted out of a judgeship.
Which is probably an important safety valve in case you get a Looney Tune like this in there.
Yeah, it does seem like that would be good. Even in Alabama, this is raising hackles and ire.
Sure.
There was a cartoonist who did a thing that said Roy Moore and his same-sex life partner, and it's Roy Moore because it's his ego,
right?
Because this man definitely sees him. I'm guessing that he would say that Jesus is above him, but it's that 1/2 inch above him, the people that fly the American flag and then the Confederate flag is
just a little bit higher,
like a 1/4 of a millimeter, below it. Or whatever. Yeah, I think that's what we got in Brother Moore here.
And this is the same arsehole who was a national embarrassment, 10 years ago when he insisted on putting that 10 Commandments in the Alabama courthouse.
Yes, sir.
And it took the Supreme Court to get it removed?
Yeah.
Well, no wonder he likes ignoring their orders.
Yeah, exactly. He's long had a grumpy affair with the real Supremes.
Right.
So he sent out this thing. At least one probate judge in Alabama tweeted that he would be ignoring the order. Stephen L. Reed, a probate judge in something county, in one of the counties.
Hazard County.
Montgomery County.
Oh.
Said he tweeted, Judge Moore's latest charade is just sad and pathetic. My office will ignore him and this.
There's one. I thought you said he was joining him. He's ignoring him.
No, he's ignoring him.
Oh, good for him.
And then the ones that were like joining him, that were obeying him, like the next day, they were like, yeah, shit, I don't think I could do this.
If these stupid little states, and we live in one, want to keep bleeding, just bleeding taxpayer dollars to court cases like this, I guess they can.
Well, if any state can afford to frivolously spend taxpayer money, it's the state of Alabama.
I'll bet that coffee can out behind the governor's house is getting pretty low, right?
It's just so weird. Like, why? Yeah, I mean, it's religion. They think that they're fighting a holy war,
right?
Because if the gays can marry, oh boy, I'm not sure what, but oh boy,
yeah, and it was pretty enjoyable to see the sun come up in June of this year,
right?
Again and again and again.
Yeah,
and again.
That's what's so funny. What if you read the writing on the wall for any of these issues? You go back to if you go way back to slavery or way back to the civil rights movement or any of these things, letting women vote, there was always somebody who was using God as a reason why this will bring destruction to society.
Yeah. And the counter argument to that is there were always, the Quaker abolitionists and yes, on the right side of history, there has always been a very narrow swath of very religious people who are trying to do the right thing.
Right.
But on the other side, slavery is justified in so many ways in the Bible. The Bible is practically a rule book for slavery.
You literally, it's harder to justify not having slaves with the Bible.
Way harder
than it is to justify having.
In fact, I don't know that you can.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly the Old Testament is nothing more than a trade magazine for the slave trade.
Right. Yeah. It's basically like. And sometimes, there's a sex advice columnist in there that likes to mess with your sex life too. But mostly it's just like, well, if your slave does this, then you got to do that. And if you paid 40 shekels, then she becomes your slave. And if you kill him, then you have to take her brother as the slave. Right. And I mean, it's just like, what the fuck?
And if a crowd wants to rape your handsome boarders, send your daughters out instead.
Yes.
So Roy Moore is part of that proud tradition.
Right. I love that we just lumped him in with all of that. That's awesome. We were able to draw those,
and we didn't even pull a muscle.
Nope,
it's that easy.
All right, moving on.
Oh well, that was fun. Let's have some not fun.
Oh, goody,
shall we? But
hooray!
I think this is an interesting story that I hadn't seen before. Where do you think a thing called der Regensburger Domspatzen might be?
Philadelphia?
Well, it's somewhere in Deutschland.
Okay.
In Bavaria.
Yeah,
which is the southern part of Germany is the most Catholic bit, as far as I know. I think it is.
Sure, we'll just go with that.
Having been there, it's very Catholic. So a little outfit called the Regensburger Domspatzen is a 1,000-year-old choir school.
Oh, lovely.
In Regensburg, Bavaria, that was run by a fella named Georg Ratzinger.
Oh, hey, I know that last name.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you might know he's got a famous relative, and he not a sports hero.
Oh dear.
Who do you think he was?
Pope.
He's the Pope Emeritus.
The Pope.
Yeah, he's the retired Pope. So his brother ran
he's a former Pope or Fope.
Fope. You never think about the Pope's relatives. It's interesting, isn't it? It's like you think that their virginity is so powerful that they couldn't have even had siblings, right? Because they're the most virgin of all the virgins, I guess. Anyway, his brother ran this school for a boys' choir school that was 1,000 years old. Not the brother, but the school. He ran it for 30 years, from 1964 to 1994, if I'm mathing correctly. And what do you think went on there? Catholic boys' school in Germany, run by the Pope's brother. What do you think?
I feel like I'm being set up here. I feel like I'm being. I'm going to say they all became auto mechanics.
Super close, and I can see how you would go there. So at least 231 boys were victims of physical and sexual abuse in this school. Again, it's weird anybody's even surprised that that's the story, right? Of course you're not.
Right.
But what's really fascinating is, so the Pope's brother, he wasn't the Pope at the time, Ratzinger, but he was the cardinal in charge of going around the world and scooping up all of the stories of under John Paul. He was the one who collected all the information about priest sex abuse.
Oh.
He basically said, give me all the copies of every affidavit, of every testimony, everything. No copies left in any of the dioceses, and I'm going to bring those back to our little pretend country that has a wall of diplomatic immunity around it.
Right.
And so he collected all this information in this office, so basically it could not be accessed.
Right.
So while he was doing that, his brother was running this little outfit, the Regensburger Domspatzen, which was up to no good.
Yeah, that's not a good thing.
No,
the movie Spotlight was originally going to be about the Regensburger Domspatzen, but I think nobody could say it.
Yeah, well,
so they stuck with Boston.
Michael Keaton's German is terrible.
It's a nightmare.
It's laughable. I mean, it's nobody believed it. So anyway,
Liev Schreiber is pretty good.
I'll bet his German's pretty good. Ratzinger, his brother, is now 91, remains a priest, and I guess. Nothing's come of this yet, so hopefully there'll be some justice.
I gotta say, priest is a weird family business. Yeah. Like, if you're gonna have a family business, that's an odd choice.
Well, it's only one generation deep, right? I mean,
well, yeah. I mean, theoretically, it can only be. Yeah. In Catholicism, anyway.
So...
Ratzinger and Sons. Ratzinger and Sons. Mobile priesting.
Ratzinger und Sonnen.
We'll come to you. We'll priest to you. Call us at
emergency priesting
at Ratzinger and Sons. Emergency priesting.
There is emergency priesting. There's exorcism.
There are exorcists.
So this school needs an exorcist. So
yeah. You know what they need to do is start exorcising all of the people who seem to like to diddle all of the kids. Not okay.
I hope you have something more fun than that.
I'm going to go back to politics. Is what I'm going to do.
Woohoo!
You know that. See, now you were on the Huckabee trail. I'm going after one Mr. Rubio.
Oh, yeah.
Who has found the tactic that he thinks is going to get him through the Iowa.
Is it hydration? He's a thirsty man.
That guy, boy, I thought his career, his whole political career was over when he did that whole slurp.
If you guys remember that belly flop when everybody who's given the rebuttal to the State of the Union after Obama
has fucked it up.
Has just been a catastrophe.
Yeah. I thought he was done after that. After that, like, he doesn't like play it cool. Like, if Obama was thirsty, he'd just be like, he'd just take a moment.
Yeah.
Grab his water, nonchalant.
Yeah.
Doesn't have no care in the world. Unscrew it. Take his time.
Yeah.
We'd just all be watching him drink.
You'd be like, damn, that's suave.
Yeah.
That guy can drink water.
Yeah, I don't care what you think about him, but the guy's cool.
Yeah.
Rubio's like, cup of water. I got the agua. I need it.
Plus, there was like Nixon level flop sweat.
Yes,
and remember he was.
He was
dehydrated. He was sweating like a whore in church.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. He was indeed. Anyway, now he seems to have
most
of that under control.
He's back.
He's still. He sounds awful when he talks. He's got 10 speech impediments working against him. Anyway, I wanted to play for all of us the new Marco Rubio for President TV ad that has just come out. So here it is.
Our goal is eternity, the ability to live alongside our Creator for all time, to accept the free gift of salvation offered to us by Jesus Christ. The struggle on a daily basis as a Christian is to remind ourselves of this. The purpose of our life is to cooperate with God's plan. To those who much has been given, much is expected, and we will be asked to account for that. Were your treasures stored up on earth or in heaven? And to me, I try to allow that to influence me in everything that I do. I'm Marco Rubio, and I approved of this message.
Holy shit, that's a political ad?
This is what I'm saying.
That's like a pastor from a community mega church, right?
Yeah, this is a guy who is running for president of a country. I'll grant him that 70+% of the country is agrees with him about Jesus.
No, I don't think agrees. I don't think 70% agrees, but
at least believes in Jesus.
Right, or friends of Jesus, but
holy shit.
That's pretty shocking. I hadn't seen that before. That's pretty shocking.
It's just Jeebus talk. There was nothing about how he would president or how he would do. He's like this was incredibly worrisome for me.
Super worrisome. And I know it's pandering. That's what he's doing.
Right.
Because the absolute fucking circus of this Republican primary, it's so hard to get noticed.
It's just exactly. I'll get a vote any way I can.
Wow.
I will start a shoeshine stand if it gets me 10 votes. But no, this guy, I mean, they all pander to the Christians.
Yeah.
Of course they do. And I understand that. That's bread and butter for them. It makes sense. But to do an entire commercial where all you're talking is theology.
Yeah. There was no politics. There was no policy.
No.
He
basically just said, I'm as Christian as I can possibly be, and that's all I care about. And it makes it clear that, like, he will not be our president. If he's made president, he will not be president of other, people of other faiths,
right.
of people of no faith. He is not our president.
Yeah. Well, none of these guys, look, none of these people, including Carly, when I say guys, none of them running would do that. I mean, all of them think that it's winner take all, that when they become president, people like you and me and a huge percentage of the country that is anything but their little tribe can go fuck themselves.
Right.
They all think that way. You know what they look at Obama and they hate him because he understands he is, as imperfect as he is, the president of everybody.
Yeah.
And that there is you try to do the most good for the most people and the least harm, for the least amount of people. And that's kind of the Obama method. And it's boring and it's slow and it's consensus driven. And it
hasn't been tremendously effective.
It has. Well, I think it's been more effective than it seems.
Well,
but
considering
you're right.
that this group of legislators have been nothing but obstructionists.
Yeah.
Considering that he was he's made concessions hoping for concessions to come back his way.
His entire first term was just people like you and me slapping our foreheads like, stop giving them everything.
Right.
Stop compromising.
They won't compromise with you.
So back to this Rubio thing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even because I know how this country works. If he said among all the things he was saying in that, I'm a Christian, so I think blah blah blah.
Right.
So we should pay lower taxes. We should we should defend our borders. Like, that would have been fine. I think it's still alarming, but it would have been normal.
Yeah.
This is something else entirely.
This is some bug-eyed crazy shit.
Yeah, that's theocracy. That is, I will be the theocrat in chief.
Yeah. I'm running for Pope of America.
Yeah. That's creepy.
So there you go. That's some scary shit.
Yeah.
I don't know. Hopefully you're going to be equally horrifying.
Ugh, this is like the most depressing. Like, should we just start over?
We're going to quit the podcast now. It's too depressing.
Let's talk about something. Okay. Let's just get this over.
Do it.
Children in India beaten, forced to convert to Christianity.
Oh, good.
This is from the Hindustan Times. Forcibly converted to Christianity, hung by the wrists from a ceiling fan, starved for days, and beaten mercilessly for failing to recite Bible passages. This is not from my biography. This is what a 9-year-old boy said he had to endure at an illegal shelter. He was among 30 children, all from poor families, rescued on December 29th after police raided 2 homes run by the Emmanuel Seva group, which is a Catholic group, I think, in Greater Noida and Meerut. The child, who, along with his younger sister and brother, had been confined to the home for 3 years, said their stay was like a jail term, during which his name was also changed. I was allowed to meet my parents once a month for only 15 minutes. The only thing I was taught was the Bible. They forced me to memorize its passages. The boy told the paper on Thursday, and added that the children were forced to consume buffalo meat.
Okay.
Okay.
They got a lot of buffaloes there.
I guess.
They don't eat the meat, though.
But they use the whole animal.
No, they don't. No.
Indians use the whole buffalo.
No. That's the wrong Indians.
I saw a Kevin Costner movie.
That's the wrong Indians and the wrong buffalo.
And
You're imagining
and the wrong,
all of the wrong things.
The wrong Costner movie.
Yeah, exactly.
They all they blend together for me.
Put yourself into the Costner movie about India.
Yeah,
if you're not careful.
So I don't know I guess if they were Hindus, maybe the buffalo meat. That's a problem, right? If If they were naturally or not, if they're born into a Hindu family,
yeah,
because nobody's born Hindu. Let's clear that up right now. They were given buffalo meat and paraded before potential donors. They gave us good clothes whenever visitors came. They made us stand in line and recite Bible passages. Faltering meant a beating with sticks and belts later, he said. Once the guests left, the shelter in charge snatched away our clothes, sweets, and gifts, and we were back in rags again.
Holy shit.
So luckily these little ones were... I don't know why they would be in a shelter if they had parents. Maybe they were super poor or...
How could that be possible? Nobody's super poor in India. That never
With
happens.
all that buffalo to eat.
Right. They just wander the streets. It's free meat everywhere you look.
So they're hopefully, I don't know what Dan's next story is, but hopefully it's not about hideous child abuse at the hands of Christians. But I guess it's there's probably a lot of shelters in India that take in people. Another aspect, related thing to this story is how the Pope is rushing Mother Teresa's beatification through.
Yep.
Through the pretend process it is anyway, so what does it fucking matter?
Right.
But, this is...
No, she's going to have magic powers soon. She'll come back with magic powers.
But, this was... I don't know if this is particular to Indian Catholics, that there is this kind of cult of suffering.
So weird.
But she's, she was part of that, and it's despicable.
Well, what's really weird is that, like, if you look at southern India, there's a state in India called Kerala, which is largely Christian and has been for centuries, like going way, way, way back, and is actually, they're also like the most educated state in the country, and they're actually cool. Like most of the Kerala Indians, like this kind of shit isn't what it's about. There's, it's a much more educated, it's a much more sort of...
Is that from the Portuguese colonization?
Yes, it is.
Catholics from that.
Yep. Yeah. So that goes back a good ways. But man, you get a fringe Christian thing going on in a sort of hiding in the shadows and whatever. That it's a recipe for disaster.
It's super weird that people use Christianity to justify child abuse. Is that a new thing?
I think we can definitively say no.
Oh, jeez.
I think we can say.
I think we've really blown the lid off of something.
Yeah. Who knows? Who knows what?
Yeah.
I'm not going to go there to expose more though.
So just this week, India and Germany are off my list.
They're done.
I'm off. Yeah, I'm not doing it.
Fuck both of them.
Yep.
What? Or just Catholicism. You could just get mad at Catholicism.
Let's focus on that. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to move on.
Yeah, please.
To some very weird, a new poll that has just come out. It's sad that Frank's not here because he loves polls.
He does like polls a lot.
He's
a stats guy.
He's a data hound.
Yep.
And not that I think. I mean, I don't like polls because I feel like they can so easily be manipulated and whatever. Anyway, this is an interesting one because it's a poll that they do every so often, asking the same questions just to see, get a feel for how America's doing, what America's thinking. And this one asked some of the following questions. It's very interesting. They asked the question, do you think America is a Christian nation? And also, has it always been a Christian nation? And is it currently a Christian nation? Or has it never been a Christian nation?
Interesting.
Any thoughts, any guesses as to where America falls on that question?
I'm going to guess pretty high. I mean, I don't know who they were asking, just the general public.
Mm-hmm.
I would guess north of 60-70% say it is.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
I'll even give you a clue. In 2010, only 42% said that the U.S. has always been and is currently a Christian nation.
Really? As recently as 2010?
As recently as 2010.
Huh. Well, that's good news.
This year, only slightly more than a third believe that it was in the past and remains today a Christian nation.
Holy moly. That's awesome.
45% of the U.S. Say that it was a Christian nation, but no longer is. And most of them are probably pissing in their pants about it.
Bitter old.
Right. And then only 14% say that the U.S. has never been a Christian nation. Now, I find the wording on this a little alarming, a little tricky. Because if you say, is it a Christian nation, I'm tempted to say yes. Because it has always been, had a majority of the population has always been Christian.
Yeah, that's like the statistical way to answer it.
Right.
You know, based on population or the census or whatever. Yeah, it is
but
largely a
I
Christian
think
nation.
the common understanding of the phrase, this is a Christian nation, is the notion that this nation is somehow supposed to be Christian.
Yeah, is foundationally
right. Is based on Christianity as a central sticking point. You know, our friend Fat Tony Scalia, Argle-Bargle Scalia, he thinks that it is. He thinks that this was founded on Christian. It's a Christian country and it's a Christian and everything. Anyway, there were other questions asked too. Are Christians being discriminated against?
That's an interest. Okay, what was the number there?
Well, they did break this down by demographics,
okay,
which is a good thing to know.
Oh, tell me.
So of all Americans, almost half agree that Christians have become a. Here's the exact question. In America today, discrimination against Christians has become as big a problem as discrimination against other groups. Agree or disagree? 49% of Americans believe
of everybody?
Oh,
fuck off.
Believe that discrimination against Christians has been as big a problem as discrimination, and they don't say which other group. So maybe it's as big a problem as discrimination against white folks. Like that's a group that it's about the same. But you can't discriminate against the people who are in charge. That's just not how that works.
Well, you can, but
like in your mind.
Yeah, I mean, you can stand on the beach and yell at the waves.
Right.
You know, like
that's not discrimination.
No,
though.
it's just being dumb.
That's just being a jerk.
Yeah.
But it's not discrimination. So among white evangelical Protestants, 70% believe that they are so put upon.
Yeah.
Oh, those sad, sad people. Shockingly, of unaffiliated people, of religiously unaffiliated people, 34% still feel like Christians are being discriminated against.
Well, I mean, that is the power of mass media. I mean, that's the power of Fox News and this, war on Christmas bullshit.
Right.
That it's alarming in the non-affiliated, but it's it makes sense in the Christian community because it is easy for people who don't think about a lot of things to see. It's easy for people who watch that Marco Rubio ad and be like, big he talks for me. It's easy for them to see a minor modification to their privilege,
right,
as persecution.
Exactly.
And how to gay women or gay men getting married really affects their privilege. Only they can say. Obviously, for those of us who understand how shit works, it doesn't change anything for them.
Right.
But they see that as persecution.
Right. Well, it does change something for them. They're no longer the privileged ones. They're no longer the exclusive owners of that right.
They're still insanely overprivileged.
Right.
There is no one more privileged.
You can say we, or me. It's me.
It's you.
You're talking about me.
There's no one more overprivileged in this country than white Christian males.
Right.
There is so much fucking privilege. They don't even notice the crumbs of privilege that fall off their table between their privileged floorboards.
Right, exactly.
So, this whole thing about like, bathroom panic, trans kids,
Right.
It's like, that doesn't fucking affect you.
Right. You're going to be fine.
Right.
You're white male and Christian.
It doesn't affect you. And you're never, like, the chances of you even knowing it's going on are so close to zero. Yet, you see that as persecution.
Yeah, you may have to wash your hands next to a trans man.
Right.
Or if you're a white Christian woman, you may have to wash your hands next to someone who looks
Right.
slightly more masculine than you do.
Right.
Unless you're Barbara Bush, in which case you'll look the same amount. Of
But there's a lot of masculine Christian women out there.
That's
man.
true. That's true.
And that's not a dig.
No,
It's
just
I think
how it is.
There's a lid for every pot, whatever you want to do.
Yep. I will say another part of the poll talked about attitudes on same-sex marriage. Speaking of which,
Okay.
all Americans, you've got well over half that either strongly favor or favor the rights of same-sex marriage.
But in the 50s, right? It's 50-something.
Let's see. It is 54.
What's
if my maths are working properly. So yeah, it's
hard to get 54% of Americans to agree on
anything
that food is good.
Right.
Yeah.
That eating keeps you alive.
Yeah.
White evangelical Protestants, that number goes down. So among all Americans, 25% strongly favor, 29% favor, and then 18% oppose, and 20% strongly oppose.
I'll take that.
Among white evangelical Protestants, 10% still strongly favor the rights of gays to marry. That's impressive, actually, to me.
Do they break it down by age? Because I'll bet that's the
youngins?
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah.
Although they're probably older than 18. 18% favor, but not strongly favor. 27% oppose, and 39% strongly oppose.
Yeah, well, whatever.
Yeah. When you get down to unaffiliated people, they are much more in the camp of allowing queers to marry.
Queers.
The queers.
Bunch of queers.
Bunch of fucking queers.
I'm never going to join the Navy. It's full of queers.
Yeah. Also, it's the Navy.
Yeah. I get seasick, really.
I'll tell you what, though. No group, whether they be unaffiliated, other, Hindu, Buddhist, whatever, no group is quite so gay-friendly as the Unitarian Universalists.
You know what? Those guys...
74%
Wow.
strongly favor.
Even more than unaffiliated people?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Unaffiliated is 45% strongly favor. Unitarian Universalists, 74% strongly favor, 20% favor, and then 2% are opposed and 4% strongly opposed.
What are these? Yeah. What are they talking about in that church? Because we need to get that.
That church is gay.
Oh, they're so gay.
That church is so fucking gay.
Yeah, we got to, we need to go talk to those people up by the U there on 13th
could.
East. Reverend Goldsmith, I think.
Reverend Tom, he's a good guy. He gives a nice sermon.
Yeah, he gives good sermon.
He gives good sermon.
They are one of the few, as far as I know, someone might correct me, but they're one of the few denominations that we talked about earlier. There's that narrow sliver of Christians that are always on the right side.
Yeah,
and they're kind of it. Them and the Quakers in a lot of cases.
Right. The community, what are they called? The Friends? Something Friends?
Yeah.
Community of Friends or something like that. The Super Friends? I think they're called the Super Friends.
They're the Super Friends. Well, do you know why? They get up a good head of steam because they eat all them oats. You know what I'm saying? Wilford Brimley. Was he a Quaker? He was a Mormon.
He was raised here in Salt Lake. I don't know if...
Lehigh. He was raised in Lehigh, I think.
Or, here in Utah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Don't correct me in front of the kids.
Hey, I'm sorry. Wilford, if you're listening.
And we know you are.
Yeah.
Call us. Tell us about your diabetes. How are you doing? Are you okay?
I got the diabetes.
I got my diabetes. If I eat my Quaker oats, I'll get no more diabetes.
Well, good for the Universal Unitarians. How cool is that?
Yep, indeed. Well, if you guys have anything you'd like to tell us about how you feel, do you strongly oppose diabetes? Let us know. You can reach us by going to by emailing. That's podcast@thankgodimatheist.com. Or you can call us and get your own voice on this show, if we deem you worthy, that is. But that's 424-666-8442. That's 666-TGIA in the 424 area code.
Operators are standing by.
Yes, and by operators we mean a voicemail.
Yes.
You can go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, and see all the things that Mark doesn't get to see because he's not on Facebook. Or if you want to be super special, join the community of listeners at the TGIA members only lounge. You have to seek us out. You have to click, and you have to ask to be let in. And in a few months, I'll get around to letting you in. Maybe.
The vetting process is really intense.
God, it does. You have no idea how long it takes me to do this shit. It's stupid.
Really?
Because I do. I go into everybody's profile and I like check to see if you're like going to be a Christian troll or if I believe that you're a real person. Because there's a whole bunch of people who just try to join groups and then like spam it with ads or whatever. So yeah,
you got to sleuth it out, man.
I go into everybody's profile. I know everything about all of you people.
Creepy.
All of you.
Super creepy.
Anywho, do that. In the meantime, we're going to hear from our Patty boy, Pat Robertson. Got some shit to say about the queers. He's going to fix it. He's going to fix the gay problem. Here we go.
Okay, Les says, Pat, my daughter was baptized and accepted Jesus as a child, but during the past 3 years, she believes she's gay. She'll be 18 in June and says she's moving in with her girlfriend. I believe that she's confused, and I have reminded her of God's promises for her. I don't accept this lifestyle because I believe God's word and truth for marriage. I continue to believe and pray for revelation and God's truth over her. How do I have a relationship with her?
Love her and let her know you love her. And don't ever stop loving her, and let her know that you will be there for her whenever she needs it. But you've got to let her know, too, clearly what you just said. You don't accept the lifestyle. So it's a difficult thing, but I think many young people, they think they're transsexual, and they think they've got to have a sex change operation. They've got to do this, that, and the other. And they don't really know what they're talking about because they're too young to know. And I have a feeling the same thing. There's nothing that says that somebody can't be attracted to the opposite sex. Young girls have crushes, and they have crushes on their teachers, and they have crushes on other girls as well as boys. And that's one of those things that happens. But that'll get differentiated as she gets older. But if she gets wrapped up in that lifestyle, she may never get out of it. So all I can say is love her and pray for her.
It's a lifestyle thing. That's the problem.
I gotta investigate a new lifestyle.
All of you gays have the same lifestyle. I don't know if you know that.
Yes.
It's all the same lifestyle.
Maybe I misunderstand what lifestyle means. I thought lifestyle was like, I own a Hobie cat, or
right.
I'm in a jogging club, or...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I have an active lifestyle.
Right. Or I am a sedentary, or, I have the lifestyle where I, have a television show where I spout hateful Jesus shit or whatever.
Yeah, that's a lifestyle, right?
It seems like those are the things that make up a lifestyle, but he seems to think that lifestyle is entirely about who you're fucking.
Yeah, and who you're attracted to. And this is what kind of drives me crazy sometimes about the way, we'll get to Patty, but the way people talk about being gay is heterosexuality defined simply by which tab goes into which slot?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think, it's kind of how you are comprised and what your emotional landscape and who you kind of spark with,
right.
Yeah. It's all those things. But of course, all that Christians can ever do or the haters can ever do is just think about the sex.
Right.
I think they think about it too much. They might think about it more than we do.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, you and I, we're men of a certain age.
Yeah.
We're no longer young.
We're ladies who lunch.
We occasionally put on our purple hats and get out there. However, the youngins, these millennials that we love to rag on and say how bad they are.
Yeah.
They're much more interesting about sexuality than we are, than our generation.
They're almost like a different species.
Yeah. They don't give a fuck.
I feel like
if they're attracted to, if they're just straight as an arrow, but suddenly they're attracted to someone of their own gender, they're like, okay, cool, we'll just play that out for a bit.
Yeah.
If they're gay, and then they're just like, oh, well, you're a different gender, but let's just fuck. It's fine.
If I was in high school and you had asked me what gender fluid meant, I would have thought it's what happens to ladies once a month. Like, I had no fucking idea. Like,
right.
This is new, and I don't really rag on the millennials because I think that they are, if there's a generation that's going to be the least stupid of any so far, it's probably going to be them. Or the least wrong about a lot.
Right.
I think it's going to be
At least
them.
they're thinking.
Gen X, we are the dawn of the Enlightenment.
Yeah,
obviously.
absolutely. We paved the way for these young'uns.
But we shall hand the mantle to them at some point.
Right, because we're tired.
God, it's a heavy mantle.
We're tired.
And there's so much good stuff on TV now. Like,
right. Yeah, exactly.
All this stuff on Netflix. There's great content. You guys go do the work.
Don't tell the millennials about the TV. Don't tell them what's on there because they'll stop their holy war.
They don't even know what a TV is. They've their tablets and
yeah, that's true.
But the Pat thing, I gotta say, this is kind of the least horrendous Patty break I have heard you guys take.
He's amazing. This is why we love Pat.
Right.
Because he starts out by saying, just love them and continue to love them and never stop loving them.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. No matter what. I was like, what?
I mean, great job.
Great job.
Every now and then, I love to play a Pat where it's just great job, Pat.
Yeah. a stopped clock is right every 465 years, I guess.
No, but that guy, that's what I love about him, is that every so often he nails it so hard, and you're and seemingly entirely against everything he's said ever before.
Yeah,
where he'll just be like, "What?" Everybody's like, "Why did the hurricanes hit, or why did the tornadoes hit the Oklahoma?" And he's like, "Dude, that's just weather."
Yeah. Well, but other times,
but they're like, "Why did Katrina?" Oh, sin.
It was Mardi Gras.
It was feminists and abortion.
Yeah,
and gays.
It's interesting that I think they worship a weather god.
Yeah, they
don't they? Like the god of thunder, like it's fucking Thor. Or something. Like it's always this
Zeus.
Yeah, it's meteorological.
It's amazing.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's pretty funny. That there's until it like hits something and they can't come up with anything, and then Pat had a whole thing once about just like no, and he explained it. He was like, no, what happens is you got one weather front, a cold front comes in from the north, and a warm front comes in from the south, and they hit each other, and it creates a vortex. And
I wish she was standing in front of a green screen map.
Yeah,
see the low pressure's coming down here from Indiana, and then from the Gulf, the high pressure comes up. Hey, I did a pretty good Pat right there, didn't I?
Not bad.
Sweet.
That's my thing.
Fuck. No, you do. You.
I don't do a Pat.
You do Cosby.
Oh, God.
I love your Cosby.
Well, I can't do Cosby anymore because he ruined it. He broke it. Or now all of my Cosby impressions can't be cute and fun.
I think
they're all just mean.
This is the most important time you could do Cosby.
Cosby impression. Jesus Christ.
Fuck that guy.
You see, the problem is that if you don't have the pills, you can't screw the ladies. Yes. Rudy, get me go to the medicine cabinet. Get me my Rohypnol.
I can't do it. Oh, my God. You're the best. I love it.
I put it in the Jell-O pudding, and it tastes really good when you eat the spoon. Okay, enough. Oh,
God.
It makes me happy and sad at the same time. You know, what I'm not going to do today, we're not going to do the, well, you know what? Let's do some emails.
Yeah.
And then we won't thank our donors. Donors, we love you. We'll thank you next week when Frank is back, because Frank has all of the info about the doning.
The doning.
You know, the various and sundry doning.
Did you give some money to the show? Yes, I doned.
I doned. I like to done when I can. Anyway, so Lawrence wrote into us. He says, "Hi, guys. How come there are 2 podcast episodes on the iTunes podcast app that are nowhere to be seen on your webpage or your RSS feed to other podcast aggregators? I use Downcast, and I have almost talked myself into believing that TGIA had gone away, or had gone the way of all flesh and burned out volunteer podcasts into the great archive in the sky."
It's true. I wonder that myself. It's not on the website.
Okay, here's the thing, kids. I chose this one out of many that had the similar question.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm answering it like this. Half of these people can't hear it. Here's the problem. We switched to a different hosting service that had much promise. So for the same reason that some of you, and not all of you, hear advertisements now on our show, some of you don't hear us at all, apparently. we've been really struggling with this transition. There's tech support has been tricky as a motherfucker, and we're still working on it. We may just abandon it completely and go back to what we were doing before. There were hopes that we could reach a larger audience and that we could do more, including some pretty exciting things. There were some exciting things that we were trying to get done. But if we can't actually reach the listeners who already listen to us, that's a problem. So it's being worked on. I don't know where we stand with that because we got our web guy doing it, and that's costing us money, and we've got our whatever. It's all just very, very tricky. But I apologize for it not working.
Let's get on that, man. Get your house in order.
What
the TGIA?
I don't know if you know this
staff.
It actually means that we have to do work beyond just content creation.
Yeah, that's not happening.
We hate that.
Yeah,
we really hate that. Yeah. So, unfortunately, it's something that we are working on, but I don't know when or what the solution will be. So I make no promises.
Yeah. In the meantime, go listen to Tom and Cecil because their shit works.
Stop it. God damn it. Yeah, you probably should.
Yeah.
Oh, anyway. Dear Frank and Dan, this is from Tom. I'm writing about the comments you made in episode 215 regarding Anitra Braxton, the Phoenix, Arizona woman who murdered Crystal Hillman because Crystal didn't believe in God. You focused on Anitra's mental illness as the cause of the crime. This happens all the time in the media, and it is incredibly frustrating for me because most of the research conducted on crime and mental illness indicates that there's no correlation between the two. Roughly 18.5% of the U.S. population experiences mental illness in a given year. The overwhelming majority of them lead relatively productive, normal lives. For those who don't, suicide rates indicate people are far more likely to harm themselves than anyone else. And people with the most severe mental disorders, such as schizophrenia or bipolar disorder, are actually 11 times more likely to be the victim of violent crimes than the general population. Despite its prevalence in our society, mental illness is still something we think of as affecting other people. It's an easy way for us to distance ourselves emotionally from tragic events like this one. In my opinion, the murder was the result of Anitra Braxton following the cultural narrative woven into our political rhetoric, our entertainment, and, of course, our religious beliefs. The narrative that violence really is the answer to our problems. And then he says, thanks, guys. I love the podcast, blah, blah, blah. So, yes, Tom, thank you for writing in. I think it is important to note that mental illness does not mean murderer.
Right.
I myself I deal with mental illness in the form of an anxiety disorder and depression. So it's not. So I certainly don't want to stigmatize mental illness.
I think that's an excellent email, and I have there's a lot of on the mental illness spectrum, a lot of conditions in my family, which is part of why our lives were terrible because it was undiagnosed. What my family chose as their treatment was religion.
Was Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus is a bad treatment for mental illness.
I would say bad treatment for any kind of cut or scrape all the way up to whatever ails you because it has not worked.
No.
In the 60 years plus they've been trying. And I have one particular member of the family that is not religious but really has had a terrible time with it. And every time I see, and it makes my blood pressure go up so high it's going to blow the eyeballs out of my skull. Every time I see these assholes in the NRA or gun rights people saying, "Well, it's mental illness." Fuck you! It's not mental illness.
Right.
It's assholes with easy access to a solution to the problem as they see it.
Right.
And I totally agree. I think it is the people in this country that tend to get demonized are the weakest people.
Right.
So here's a constituency that has no representation or very little, and they're struggling like crazy in life, and they get singled out.
And what we see black folks are, if a black person kills somebody, it's because they're a thug, they're a bad person.
Where's the father?
Right. Yeah. All that's it. If a white person kills somebody, it's mental illness.
Yeah.
And that's wrong. Although I have to say, it's undeniable that mental illness is a factor in some murder.
Yeah.
And I don't think that it's unreasonable to think that if you take a cocktail of problems, including including a narrative that says that Jesus is on your side, God is with you,
right?
And and then you add to that a mental health element.
Yeah.
I don't think it's unreasonable to say that that's a contribution.
In many cases it is. I think this woman, I didn't hear the story, but I know a little bit about it. Would she have done this if she had been found to be fit as a fiddle in the brain case?
I think that's my question.
Yeah, I doubt it.
It seems unlikely.
She could. Now, religion can take a perfectly sane mind, a perfectly healthy mind, and do terrible shit to it.
Right. It can distort your view of reality. It can distort how you see how you should take action.
Yeah.
So religion is distorting enough.
Yeah.
But for someone to murder another person and say, I killed them because they don't believe in God, and then I kept their body in my apartment for days as a shrine to God, that to me says it doesn't seem like something a sane person would, a person with all of their mental faculties would do.
I think religion, I've seen it happen to people in my life, that in my immediate family. Religion can take a red pencil to the sentence structure of a completely normal morality.
Yes.
Right? And it can do a lot of shit to it.
That's true.
But I think for really, really horrendous situations like this one, I think something else has to be in play. Now, your average Joe asshole who just shoots up a place, that can just be male impotence and rage,
right?
And all this,
and psychological abuse has happened. Can lead to all kinds of things. Like any number of factors can lead into that.
Right.
So like a mass shooter, I'm unwilling to jump to any easy answer at all. This particular case struck me as different than that.
Yeah.
But I'm not a doctor, so what the fuck do I know?
And it also begs the question, and I don't mean to be insensitive, because I hope I'm proving that I'm not insensitive on this issue, but is anybody 100% mentally complete and emotionally completely healthy? Does that exist?
Yeah. And how boring is that person?
I mean, me, yes.
Oh, obviously you are 100%.
Yes. I mean, if I have anything on the spectrum, I suffer from delusions
of grandeur,
of adequacy. But it's a very fair point and a great email, and I wish people would stop kicking people in such circumstances with such it's like kicking the family dog, Right. And not that they're dogs, but it's just they're people who are vulnerable and have no representation,
Yeah.
So
there you go. All right. Well, thanks for those emails, and keep them coming. Let's move on, because here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about government overstepping, acting like they own the place.
Yeah. It's not we the people. That's who owns it.
Right.
We the people own all this shit.
Specifically, me the people.
Yes.
And my friends, my buddies, the people.
Not the government that we all agreed to form together to protect us.
And that act as the duly appointed representatives of we the people.
What? Is that how that works?
Okay. So let's give a little bit of background. Most everybody's pretty much heard about the militia group, which that has taken over a small shack in the woods.
Yes, they have like Ethan Allen and the Green Mountain Boys seizing Fort Ticonderoga and its guns. These brave patriots have seized a birdwatching sanctuary with a closed gift shop.
Right. Yeah. Those brave soldiers.
The blood of patriots. Yes.
There's no blood so far. Oh, no, there is, because they've been getting into fistfights with each other. Have you heard about that?
No, really?
Yeah. There have been a few scuffles.
Oh God, that stories like this that make me so happy to be alive. Because we talked about a lot of terrible shit at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
This is just you could not punch the smile off my face.
Yeah. Okay. So why don't you catch us up? All right. You seem pretty informed on the whole thing.
I really love this story. So there was a man named Cliven Bundy who unfortunately is still with us. He's a Mormon,
an older fella,
Mormon rancher, who has been sucking off the government teat nigh unto 30 years now, 20 years.
Yeah.
So
in the form of his cattle have been grazing for free on government property.
That's right. And so for you, those of you who are not in the West of the United States, the federal government is a huge landowner in the West because these are huge empty places.
Right.
And somebody has to administer something.
Right.
Shit has to get taken care of. So the federal government owns millions of acres of land.
The Bureau of Land Management.
Yeah, and the BLM, and they administer this land to all kinds of people can use this land. They do fracking on it. They do agriculture on it. But one of the biggest things that happens on this land is cattle raising enterprises are allowed, and sheep, and I guess other animals as well, but
right.
Ruminants are allowed to graze on this land at almost hilariously tiny cost.
Right.
I think on federal land it's like a few bucks a head per year. So the Bundy family, who are a very confused bunch of self-described patriots, refused to pay those grazing fees for years and years and years, which led to the federal government saying, okay, enough's enough. We're coming to seize your real property, which was the cattle, in order to pay for you not doing this for years. Suddenly that turned into, Lexington and Concord, and Cliven Bundy had a very high-profile standoff with the BLM. Snipers.
Yeah, they had many, many guns.
Were laying on the federal freeway.
Yeah.
Pointing guns at federal cops.
Correct.
And everybody walked away from. Now, good for the federal government for not going fully postal on these guys.
Totally AP.
Yeah, going totally Ruby Ridge on these guys. So.
Or Waco or whatever.
Yeah. So, but there was there's no penalty. Like, these guys walked away.
Yeah, they basically got,
which is insane. So
everything that they wanted.
So flash forward
because of guns.
Yeah. So, Cliven Bundy would stand up there with a picture of George Washington, with a pocket constitution, say there is no federal government, that Washington, a town named after the man whose picture he was holding,
right,
has no sway over his land, the federal land in Nevada. That it's we the people and the local sheriff is it. And then he got on a horse with an American flag and rode away. And how he just didn't disappear in a singularity of contradiction. Just the universe just sucked him into a wormhole.
Yep.
So because they got away with that, flash forward to
now
last week.
Yes.
And his son Ammon and his other son Ryan, who has, I'm going to try not to make too much fun of his looks because he had an unfortunate accident.
Oh, okay. That's
and so, the fish that have both eyes on the same side of their head kind of situation.
Jesus Christ.
So they have gone to Oregon. They've driven from their home in Nevada on federal freeways to a closed bird refuge in Oregon in support of two arsonists.
Yes.
Two ranchers who had burned federal property in a fit of pique.
No, not buildings. We're talking about burning. They burned forests.
And quite a bit of it, and
a lot of it.
And they burned a lot of sensitive land, a sensitive kind of ecosystem, and endangered the lives of firefighters who then had to come put the thing out.
Right.
You're
not allowed to start a forest fire.
Right. And they did it because they were pissed that the federal government said they couldn't graze on that particular piece of land just yet.
Right.
So they burned it. And that's arson, and you go to jail for that.
Right. So they were arrested.
They were arrested.
Tried.
There's a little bit of a weird situation where they served some time and then they were kind of forced to go back.
Right.
It's legal, and it had to do with mandatory minimums and a bunch of what Fat Tony would call argle-bargle.
Right.
But they were asked to surrender to go back to jail. So here come the Bundys. Here come the Bundys.
And a whole crowd of other fellers.
Crowd.
Well, originally reported as like 150.
Yeah.
Now it seems likely that it's hovering around, 20?
Yeah, they could have ridden there on a 66-passenger bus and still had room for 44 more people.
Yes.
Right? So these guys show up at this bird sanctuary, which they claim was seized land from farmers. Quick backstory. The federal government during the Great Depression bought farms that were not producing from penniless farmers
for
at above market price.
Right.
To well above market price.
They saved these farmers'
to save
asses.
their lives and
Right.
keep them from starving to death. Thank you, Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yes.
So that's apparently seizing land, paying.
Yeah, that's the U.S. government seizing good farmer land.
So the reason, other than this is just kind of a hilarious, Mayberry shoot 'em up kind of thing, the reason that Dan and I wanted to talk about it is because there's a Mormon angle.
Yes. Mm-hmm. This is an interesting thing because it's not. I was skeptical about talking about this because just because the militia guys are Mormon, that's not enough reason for us to go in and talk about this.
That's all we'd talk about on every show if we just talked about Mormon militia guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's an element that they're waving flags that I think you non-Mormon folks won't understand unless we break it down for you.
So one of the guys, you've got your U.S. flag. They've probably got the Confederate flag waving up there. They've got the Gadsden flag, that beloved of the Tea Party. It's very yellow, which is funny to me.
That's the one with the snake.
That's the one with the snake. But
don't-
it's yellow, the color of
It is yeller.
cowards.
Because you're cowards.
So there's another, shall I say what it is?
Yes.
There's another flag that the press thought, that's a weird new thing we haven't seen. And it is called the Title of Liberty. The Title of Liberty reads, and I am translating from the modified Egyptian, spoken in Central America at the time. The Title of Liberty reads, "In memory of our God, our religion, and freedom, and our peace, our wives, and our children." If there are English majors
and our horses and our friends
and our tapirs, if there are English majors out there, please don't get up my ass about that run-on sentence. That is how there's a lot of commas and a lot of ands. And that's just how it is because it's liberty.
This is from the Book of Mormon.
The Book of Mormon.
El Libro de Mormon.
Yeah.
So the story starts with, and you have to understand, the Book of Mormon, for those of you who don't know what the Book of Mormon actually is, obviously it's the central scripture to Mormonism, to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
South Park can catch you up.
Yeah, go and check that out. Yeah. But it's ostensibly the telling of the American peoples in ancient times, and it's their story about how they all came from Jews.
Yeah. So just quickly catch up. They were Jews who came to the Americas from Jerusalem,
right?
And nobody lived in the Americas, and then they did, and then there were millions, and they had horses and swords and chariots and elephants. And thing, and they all spoke kind of a Hebrew situation. And then Joseph Smith found the book about that behind his farm in New York. It's all that makes sense. So this is what Ammon believes.
This comes from a story, one of the stories of the ancient peoples of the Americas.
Yeah,
a man by the name of Moroni,
Captain
Moroni.
He has rank, sir.
That's true. I should salute him.
You should salute him.
Tell him about Captain Moroni.
So Captain Moroni, and this is funny because Dan and I both grew up Mormon, but I could not have read the Book of Mormon if you put a gun to my head and said you have 2 days to read 556 pages of Drek.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So
it's a nightmare.
I kind of got a little bit of it growing up, but I didn't ever actually read it. So I had to have lunch yesterday with my returned missionary brother. I'm like, okay, Title of Liberty, Moroni, catch me up. So he's like, oh God. So Captain Moroni was a righteous Nephite. They were the good guys because they were white. There were some bad guys who were not white. That's how you could tell.
It's nice when God color codes everybody.
Yeah,
color codes.
It makes
everybody.
it easy. You know, it made it easy for Captain Moroni. It makes it easy for the cops these days. So,
Right, exactly.
So he was one of the good guys, and there was this guy Amalekiah, who,
Sure.
I swear I'm not making it up. So this guy Amalekiah wanted to like take over being the general of the army, and there was going to be a coup, and he was a bad guy. So Captain Moroni is like, think, Moroni. What do I do? Here's what I do. I tear off my coat, and I write on it, in memory of our God, our religion, and freedom, and our peace, our wives, and our children.
Which is as good a rallying cry as you'll ever hear.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of it's as bland a rallying cry as, Mormon cuisine is okie dokie. So this apparently was so stirring.
Yes.
To the other Nephites that so many men, and if you've seen this painting of Captain Moroni, kind of big, strapping, hulking men came running to his aid, that it scared off the Amalekiah and this group of guys that were supporting him that are strangely called the Kingmen. So this was a stirring moment for in the Book of Mormon that avoided a massive battle. I think Zarahemla came after this, so there was a really big one that happened later.
So what we're talking about here is a guy who was anti-government, who goes up against the government.
Well, he kind of was the government, though, I think.
Well, he became the government, didn't he? Or
I don't know.
He's a captain.
If anybody's still listening after that explanation, if anybody's fucking hung in through this.
Yeah, nobody's paying any attention at this point. Everybody's eyes have glazed over. I think we've caused some traffic accidents now.
The pilots have fallen asleep at flying planes.
Right.
So this is a very important story to true believing Mormons who put a lot of stock, all the stock in the Book of Mormon.
Right.
This has become an important figure in the Mormon libertarian militia kind of movement.
Right. Now, you should understand that the most Mormons don't dress like they're just off of Brokeback Mountain, and most Mormons aren't militia people.
No. But a lot of rural Mormons dress like that.
Right. And it gets and they can get pretty darn militia-y, and they're certainly very conservative frequently, politically speaking. This is about as extreme as it gets, but the fact is that
no, it's not quite, because polygamy the polygamous cults that are still Mormon are crazier, but this is pretty crazy stuff.
Right.
This is violent stuff.
Yeah, one of the things that so the Mormon angle is strange on this one. The LDS Church itself has had to disavow this action.
They after many years, they tripped over a smart PR move.
Yeah.
In this particular case.
Yeah.
Now they didn't say jack shit about Cliven Bundy.
No, that original standoff,
which was a huge story. It was on. He was on Hannity every night until he was like, "I got a theory about the Negro."
Yeah, exactly. That's true. He did have that.
Color bars.
Suddenly, it was like, oh shit,
technical difficulties.
Yeah, right.
But they didn't say anything about that. So I think they realized here, we've got to do something that makes us not look as crazy as...
Well, because these guys are carrying around their the flag and this stuff. Like they're making it about Mormonism.
Yeah.
Whereas Cliven, which by the way, it always sounds like a Jerry Lewis exclamation. Cliven!
Cliven Bundy.
Oh, I got a Cliven over there with the schmoigen.
So many cows.
So Cliven was a nut job, but he didn't make everything about his religion. I guess he did. He talked about it some.
Okay, so he did a bit, but his son, Ammon, who's the guy that's running this clown show up in Oregon, is named after a Book of Mormon character.
Yeah.
Right? And there's this.
I thought it was a Bible character. Is there? There's a Book of Mormon Ammon.
Do
and
you
a Bible.
not know anything about the Book of Mormon?
Well, I knew that there was a Bible Ammon. There is also a Book of Mormon Ammon. That's true. That's right.
What struck people about Cliven and what is striking Never Mormons, right? What is striking Never Mormon people watching these stories is how odd these fellows speak and what strange kind of language they use.
Right.
Now, if you're a Mormon or you come out of the Mordor like we did, you totally know what's going on here. This is church speak. And so now Cliven might not have necessarily said this is for the title of liberty, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But he was speaking as if he was in church.
There's a lot of dog whistles there.
A lot of dog whistles. And so I read this Rolling Stone article about it Matt Taibbi wrote, and he's like, what in the fuck is with all this crying?
Oh, yeah.
Like, cowboys don't cry. Like, why are these hard-ass men weeping? And I was like, oh, that's Mormon.
Oh, BLM land, why can't I quit you?
But that's, if you're in fast and testimony meeting, you've got it. You've been practicing in the mirror for weeks. You're at a 10, but you want to turn it up to 11?
Yeah.
Cry a little bit.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's funny because so many Mormons that I know never saw their dad cry in home.
Right.
Like they would. These men are, as far as they were concerned, feelingless robots.
Yeah.
And then they'd go to church, and the tears would just out of them.
There's a weird public.
And I don't even think they have to practice it. I think that first of all,
I think it really happens.
Yeah, I think it's real. Like
there's a sincerity.
You're allowed. When there's finally a place where you're allowed to have feelings,
It all comes out.
It all comes out.
Yeah, yeah. And
So yeah, I mean these are men who cry. I mean you've seen Glenn Beck. That fucker converted, and he cries all the goddamn time.
All the time. But it's interesting to see. It's kind of like when Napoleon Dynamite came out. And everybody's like, wow, that's crazy. How fun. That's really weird.
Oh, they just created a weird world for them.
They made this all up. And we're like, no, that's just rural Mormon culture.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what it's like in Idaho. Like my husband's from Idaho, rural Idaho.
Yeah.
And he can't even watch that movie. He's like, oh my God, it's like a documentary. It's too painful to watch.
Yep.
And so, when Mormons accidentally bump up against the rest of the world, unpolished Mormons like Mitt Romney,
yeah, he's more
polished.
He's more machine now than man.
He's more machine than man. But when these kind of humble people that aren't ready for prime time kind of hit, when the camera points at their faces, people are like, "What?
Yeah,
this is all so weird."
Well, and they don't know that they're being weird. That's what's awesome about it is that they think they're talking like. They think they're speaking sort of Rush Limbaugh / Bill O'Reilly speak.
Yeah.
They think that everybody's just going to get where they're coming from because they live in such a bubble that they don't know that anything that they're doing, like maybe their accent's different, but everything else is normal.
And a lot of these small communities in Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, Colorado, Nevada, you may not know a non-Mormon.
Right.
Yeah. Yes, you listen to Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity and all that garbage, but those are the non-Mormons in your life.
Right.
Everybody you have physical contact with or community contact with is maybe a Mormon.
And everyone that you're discussing any issue with is definitely a Mormon.
So you can easily get in this place, it's like Iceland. You're just so cut off, for 900 years.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the world shows up and you're like, honking flung dong. And you don't understand why they don't understand you.
Right, exactly.
So that's kind of largely the Mormon connection, but mostly I like this story because it's just fun.
Yeah,
just fun to talk shit
just
about.
So idiot. These guys are such idiots.
There was a guy. Did you see the guy under the blue tarp?
No.
Oh my God!
So what are you talking about?
One of the national news agencies was there, and he's doing a stand up. Right, he's talking. And camera's pointing at him. It's night, and about 30 feet behind him is like a blue tarp that looks like it's covering some snow tires or something. And he says, the guy's like, he doesn't want to talk to us, but there is a man under that blue tarp who is a Mormon rancher from Arizona who says there's a warrant for his arrest, so he doesn't want to be seen, but he's sitting under that tarp in a rocking chair with a gun. And
my God.
Now I'm not from Army. I'm not an Army man.
Uh-huh.
But here's what I understand about concealment in such a situation as this. The goal is to see but not be seen. He was kind of going with
Just nobody sees anybody.
be seen but not see. And so right in the middle of this guy's report, all of a sudden the tarp flips up. And this little man looks out from underneath it, and he's kind of looking around. Then he pulls it back down. I was like, oh, is it raining? No, it wasn't raining. So this is who these fucking guys are.
I just looked it up, so now I see that there's literally just a lump
Yes.
with a tarp on it. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people have rightly pointed out, what if this was Black Lives Matter? What if this was
Muslim people?
What if it was anybody who wasn't as white as this piece of typing paper?
Right, exactly.
Right? That reserve would be a 40-foot fucking crater.
Yeah, there would definitely. I mean, so people have said that there would be guns, and people. Here's where I'm going to differ from a lot of my liberal friends on this. Is that a lot of people are like, these guys are terrorists, just like these are American terrorists. I don't think they are terrorists. I think to be a terrorist, you have to be trying to use fear to control public opinion and
To control an outcome, and to force an outcome.
Right. And these guys don't seem to be trying to engender any fear.
Well, no, I think that's their intent.
You think?
I think they're not good at it. They're ridiculous.
I feel, I maybe.
But I think they're absolutely trying to instill fear in a certain part of the population. They don't see themselves as terrorists, of course.
No.
What terrorists ever really do? Every terrorist has a fucking cause that they're going to die for, like they believe in it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess from the point of view of the terrorist, they are always freedom fighters.
Yeah,
they are never.
They're defending Islam, or they're defending
but
Christian values.
But these guys' tactics aren't to they haven't taken any hostages. They haven't tried.
The place was closed.
They haven't killed anybody, nor do they intend to kill anybody unless they're fired upon.
Yeah.
And I think that what they want is just to be martyrs for a cause. They don't actually want to terrorize anybody. They don't actually want to kill anybody.
I don't know if I agree with you. I think that they are trying to force a political outcome with a gun.
Right. Well, they do have guns.
They do have guns. Now, they are probably way more likely to shoot themselves than they are anybody effectively. And so, thank God they're ridiculous.
Yes, indeed. And it does seem like if you threw a banana peel in there, you'd have 55 minutes of comedy.
Exactly.
They're dopes. And other people have compared it to the Ferguson thing or what happened,
right.
all over the country with protesters, and they're like, why these guys aren't looting, so that's why it's different. No, it's different because these guys are trying to protect their own financial interests.
Yes.
They are not trying to I mean, there's a huge difference between saying I hate the government because it costs me a little tiny bit more to graze my cattle, and I can't be as much of a millionaire as I already am, as I want to be, versus people who are trying to protect their right not to be shot
in their own neighborhoods
because they're the scariest skin color.
You're right. These assholes can dress it all up with their fucking flags and all their pretend liberty and patriotism. What it's about is they don't want to pay the heavily subsidized grazing fees, which are so close to not a fee.
Right.
So it's just money.
It's just money.
They don't understand.
They call it freedom.
Yeah.
But really, it's the same freedom that the Koch brothers fight for every day, which is the freedom for them to make as much money as they want to.
They are literally welfare queens.
They totally are.
And aside from the grazing fees, if you're in the agricultural sector in this country, you are probably eligible for so much government assistance. Doesn't rain one season, boom, you're covered.
Yeah.
The farm bill.
Oh yeah,
boom.
we save agricultural people left and right.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing is just
Yeah. So so when we're talking about Tamir Rice, the cops gave him black child. Cops gave him 2 seconds to prove his innocence.
Right. Yeah. He's the one that had the fake gun.
Fake gun. And by the way, Ohio is an open carry state.
Right. I mean,
if that was a real gun, he was within his rights.
Well, not as a child.
I don't know.
But nevertheless, you can't the cops saw black skin and something that resembles a gun.
Yeah.
It It could have been an ice cream sandwich. It doesn't matter. They shot the kid like without even like thinking.
And it's easy if you're a person whose brain can work in a consistent line and see where something is, where contradictions are and where irony is and where hypocrisy is. To look at those two, the guys in Oregon and Tamir Rice or Ferguson and be like, fuck, this country's insane. I am not calling for these guys to get hit by a Hellfire missile.
No.
I'm not. I don't want them shot.
I feel like the opposite lesson should be what we learn.
Right.
What we learn is that you can handle a crazy situation without sending in the tanks and the militarized police.
Right. Everybody, exactly. Calm the fuck down. But here's what I'm saying is I don't want there to not be consequences for this.
No, there should be.
If I were the man in charge of the Oregon thing.
Yes.
If I was the guy that had to handle this, I'd say, okay, here's what we're going to do.
I'm going to vote for you to be that man.
Please vote. What is that? The sheriff of
Nottingham?
Of Bellingham.
Right.
That's in Washington. So I would roadblock.
Yeah.
Nobody gets in. Turn off the power. Turn off their internet.
Oh, that's just cruel.
And just, they've already called for snacks, these brave patriots. They've already called for snacks. That's how ridiculous they are. They said they're going to be there for years, and they're like, well, I thought you were grabbing the cooler, Cletus.
Yeah, exactly. Wait, who has a jerky?
I've got no Oreos. So they're already starving out. Two things are going to happen. They're going to start begging the UN to come in with bread trucks and feed them.
Yeah.
Or they're going to, three things.
They don't like the UN. They're not going to ask for the UN.
Believe me, behind every right-wing, shrieking, religious fanatic tough guy is a huge weakling, like a huge puss. So they're going to either turn to cannibalism by Tuesday, or they're going to start wanting to surrender. And I'd say, okay, cool. We're going to block the roads. Nobody gets in. But if you want to come out with no gun, completely naked, with your hands in the air because you are seditious. You're a dangerous person with a gun. Nobody's going to shoot you. Come out and surrender.
We're going to arrest you.
5-10 years in the stone lonely for being a dum-dum and thinking you can overthrow the government, because there should be consequences.
Yep.
But nobody gets killed. Nobody gets hurt.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody wants that. I mean, I think we have learned some lessons from things like Waco and whatever. But, I mean, one of the things is that these guys don't have any hostages. They don't have – so it's just like, okay, we'll wait you out then.
They don't have any snacks.
Yeah. You're right, though. Their last time they pulled this, there were no consequences.
And that was a huge mistake.
Hopefully there will be this time. Who knows? Anyway, Mormons are weird. I think I think the conclusion is that Mormons are weird.
Yeah. All right.
Let's just leave it at that.
I'll go with that.
All right. If you have anything you need to add to our thesis that Mormons are weird, please do so. You can write to us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com. You can call in and make your voice heard. That would be 424-666-8442. Go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, or, tweet at us if you want to. We've got Twitter. We're at TGIAtheist. We never do anything with that.
No, and send snacks.
By all means, send snacks. We're in trouble over here. Yeah. Also, seek out the Members Only Lounge on Facebook. And there you go. I want to thank the Red Rock Hot Club for the use of their fine, fine, beautiful music that I love so much.
That you're hearing now.
And thanks to Mackenzie for all of the work that she puts in on our social media. And thank you, Mark, for filling in. What a kind thing you do.
Happy to do it, and it's really fun to be back. And hey to everybody out there, it's been a joy talking at you.
Yeah, and thank you, dear listener, for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Bye.